I said, you are going through a lot of heavy stuff right now. It is okay to not be okay. You don't need to play games for me. You don't need to act like a tough guy to me. Dude, I know you're tough. There's no but I said what you and I grew up being taught that tough is, we now know, or I know, is not tough anymore. It's all hot, it's all smoke and mirrors.
Welcome to the EQ Gangster podcast, where you will learn practical tools to grow your mental and emotional health and intelligence to be the best version of yourself, both at work and at home. It is real, raw, and transformational. The journey of emotional growth isn't easy, but it's worth it. I believe in you. This episode is sponsored by Classical Conversations. Since 1997, Classical Conversations has been equipping families like yours with the resources to homeschool with confidence, following a classical curriculum rooted in a Christ-centered worldview alongside other families in a local community. Homeschooling is doable with Classical Conversations. Check out classicalconversations.com/Gibbons for more information. Again, that's classicalconversations.com/Gibbons, Gibbens.
EQ gangster. So, first of all, the noise may be a little bit different than normal. I'm sitting outside, so you may get some wind noise. If you're watching this on YouTube, you will see there's a lake behind me, a really neat, beautiful lake behind me, and there's crickets and cicadas and all kinds of stuff out here. So there's probably not the normal clear background audio that that I normally might have. So, but I wanted to just kind of unique episode and unique situation here. So I just wanted to do this particular one outside. There's even a tractor going, also some raking going on right now. So just had a coaching client, and it was not an easy one. And this one, I'm not even sure what I'm gonna title this one. Maybe, well, so there's gonna be a few different lessons from this. So I met with this particular client maybe about 10 months ago, and I had met with him probably 3 or 4 different times. Super dude. And then he kind of like went off the radar. Like 3 or 4 great appointments, great coaching sessions, and then like disappeared until this morning, which I'm like, okay, wow, that was, and like unsolicited, right? So I wasn't like, I mean, I had called, kind of sent him a couple messages like, hey, bro, just want to check in on you, make sure you're doing all right. And, and so, but not like recently. That was, kind of shortly after he had dropped off, just to make sure, you know, he was doing okay. And so then, boom, he pops up this morning. I'm like, bro, it's so good to see you, man. It's been a while. Like, so good to see you, man. It's great to hear your voice. Great to see your pearly whites. And he's like, man, Noble, I'll be honest with you, man. It's been a rough go. I'm like, dude, well, let's go. What's going on? And man, y'all, just be thankful. There's so much in life to be thankful for. So his wife has got a lot of health challenges, and and yeah, she could, so she's been through a lot of surgeries recently, and is currently going through, like, is has a particular health situation going on where, like, no joke, any second she could hit the ground and like be done. And he's maybe 60, 65. And so that's heavy, right? That's heavy to be in that situation. And the medical folks are like, hey, bro, like, if you see anything funny or off with her eyes, like that's like the first sign that you need to immediately scoop her up and take her into the ER. And I mean, that's no joke. That's intense, heavy stuff, right? And he's been married for like 30 years or something, for a long, long time. Well, then, and and and, and he found that information out like literally last week. He also found out last week that his son is in his mid 20s, has a a very serious form of brain cancer. And his son has a 3-year-old daughter who, and the guy, my client, is taking care of his son and granddaughter because the son's divorced. And he my client found out, kind of all this medical stuff within a week. Last week he found all this information out. And my client is kind of, he's old school, hard as woodpecker lips, like, oh man, Noble, I'm fine, I'm good, man. I said, bro, I said, you are going through a lot of heavy stuff right now. It is okay to not be okay. You don't need to play games for me. You don't need to act like a tough guy to me. Dude, I know you're tough. But I said, what you and I grew up being taught that tough is, we now know, or I know, is not tough anymore. It's all hot. It's all smoke and mirrors. Because I know some incredibly, incredibly hard, strong men that no one can go through life alone. Y'all, we need each other. We need people. And this guy, again, is a very strong guy, very strong man. I'm like, and I'm just proud of you for reaching out. I'm proud of you because another client of mine, who we're all mutual friends, told this guy to reach out to me and say, look, dude, you need to talk to this guy. And he's like, no, man, I don't need, I'm fine. I don't need to talk to Noble, man. I got this. I can handle this by myself. And he's like, and this other client said, dude, we're not meant to go through life alone. We need each other. And Noble has been there for me, and as actually this other client is going through some stuff as well. And he's helping me through my challenging times right now. Like, just reach out to him. And so I said, dude, I'm thankful that you reached out. I'm thankful, dude. I appreciate that, because I'm like, before EQ, I would not have been a guy that would be ready, willing, and able to go through the valley with somebody else. But now that I have been actively working on my emotional health and emotional intelligence, I love being the guy that goes through the crap, the chaos, the valley with somebody else. Because now I'm comfortable with my own big, strong, intense emotions, and have the corresponding tools to help me go through my own valleys. So now I'm much more comfortable going through the valleys with somebody else. And so I said, look, I'm and I don't say this to blow smoke up your nose, but I told him, I said, dude, do not hesitate to reach out. Or if we need to do, weekly, where we just meet once a week and just do a little touch base, whatever. I said, dude, I am ready, willing, and able to go through this crap with you and alongside you. I can't physically do it for you. He's in a different state, but man, I can absolutely be there with you emotionally. I mean, and physically over Zoom, but like I unfortunately don't have the freedom and flexibility to be at your house with you for days and weeks on end. And so, and he's got a faith background also. So, we wrapped up with, I ran through some passages with him, Psalm 121, Psalm 23, and Psalm 91. We read them together, and I said, dude, I have, I have no idea what's going to happen. I don't know, like, um, all I know is, dude, that you're going to be going through some very intense emotions over the next days, weeks, months, years, potentially, and and allow yourself to feel, to go on that roller coaster ride. Now, you can determine when you go on that roller coaster ride, because it's not always appropriate when you get slammed with emotions in that particular moment. Maybe when you're meeting with that doctor, or you're meeting with that medical staff about your wife or your son, or you're meeting with, the legal folks to know how to set up different, powers of attorney, that kind of thing. If, you know, whatever courses of action happen, but you can later, when you get back home, you can absolutely cry, scream, cuss, vent, and pray. And I just encouraged him, man, allow yourself. This is not easy, dude. There's no human being on the planet that would say, "Oh man, you're going through easy street." This is your wife, right? Is in a very precarious situation. Your son, very precarious situation, and obviously that, and your granddaughter, right, who's 3, trying to figure out why is daddy sick all the time, and why is grandma having a tough time, and man, that's a lot, bro. And let yourself go through these emotions, because here's the deal. Not go through the motions, go through the emotions, because it's not if, but when those emotions come, you can only stuff and avoid those emotions for so long, bro, before the intensity of these emotions that you're going through, this package of emotions that you're going through, absolutely picks you up and body slams you. And because right now you are the most healthy in your family, you do not need to be getting body slammed. So if you can do those little hits, those little exposures, those little processings of the intensity of your emotions, kind of as they come, that will allow you to not ever have to get fully body slammed. Not that they're going to come intensely, but just panting up leads to a much larger explosion on the back end of emotions, if you have not allowed those little releases, again, of that balloon. Let those little releases of air, right, of those emotions. So there's a lot of lessons in all this stuff, y'all. A lot of lessons. There's the health lessons, the physical lessons. For me, it was convicting to me, like, man, I've got to get my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health dialed in, because I'm getting older. He's only, for all intents and purposes, 10 or 15 years older than me. So, and I can't, I don't want to be the guy that, like, oh, all of a sudden, like, let me start working out after I get the diagnosis that I have 10 days to live. Like, that's not the time to start working out. I want to start, I need to continue my physical, mental, emotional, spiritual health, including what I eat, and how much I eat, and all that stuff. Because I want to be around, not just for my daughter as she grows up, but for her kids. I'd love to be around for her kids and as well. And so it was very convicting. So from a physical health standpoint, that was very convicting session for me today. And then also, again, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Am I mentally, emotionally, and spiritually prepared for heavy stuff like that? And man, thank God I'm more prepared now than I've ever been in my life. And I need to continue the mental, emotional, spiritual PT, physical training, so to speak, exercises, so that I can be ready for more of that stuff. As I get older, right, there's just going to be more of that stuff happening. And how do I want to go through those kind of times? How do I want to experience those kind of times? If I am so emotionally dysfunctional that I am not able to be there mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically for family members, friends. Well, that's not good either, right? I want to be there for family, friends. And so that means I've got to take ownership and responsibility for where I'm at and continue this journey, continue growing, continue this journey because life isn't easy, y'all. It isn't easy. It may be easy for some of y'all right now. Man, life is not easy. And man, my heart just goes out to my buddy, my client, because he is. I mean, put yourself in his shoes, right? To think that, man, my wife and son could be gone any moment, or they could live for another 10 or 15 years, 20 years, 30 years. For like medically speaking, they have some very intense stuff that they've got to work through, and you've got to be prepared for that kind of stuff. Your wills, he's working on his living will right now, power of attorneys, legal stuff, depending on different scenarios. I mean, just going, the emotional experience of going through that stuff. And so I said, look, that's great that you're physically doing those, preparing for those different things of the possibilities, right? The will and the power of attorney and the different legal stuff and the, being able to take care of the granddaughter, those different scenarios. But you also need to emotionally go through those different things as well. I just did in the EQ Mafia last night. I did training on kind of these new concepts that I've been applying in my own life right now, the past, say, 3 to 6 months. And that's emotional forecasting and preloading decisions, which I won't go into now, but it's important to, again, allow yourself to emotionally process heavy stuff. And maybe you do it in bite-sized chunks, but just do it. If you do it all at once or bite-sized chunks, whatever you do, just do it. And watching Netflix and avoiding processing is not processing. At some point, I encourage you to sit down, paper and pen, and journal. Get some of that stuff out on paper and write that stuff down, y'all. So, and then also for a friend or loved one that's going through this stuff, if you have someone going through that stuff, again, are you ready? Are you emotionally prepared? Are you spiritually, mentally prepared to help another loved one go through tough times? And if not, what do you need to do to get yourself right and stronger mentally, emotionally, spiritually, so that you can be there, be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically available for a loved one, a family member, a friend, coworker that's going through a tough time? Do you have the tools? Do you have the emotional, spiritual agility? Do you have the resiliency, the emotional, spiritual resiliency to be there through loved ones' very difficult, tough times? So I'd love to hear maybe a takeaway, something that you got out of this episode. If this was valuable, share it with a friend, a coworker, a family member that may find some encouragement or some lessons in this one as well. So, because again, there's a lot of lessons in this one, y'all. We don't. That's my tattoo right on for those y'all on YouTube can see this tattoo on my right arm here. It's an hourglass. It says the I, and it says intentional. Are you intentional with how you're living? We don't, and that's why the hourglass is there, because we don't know when our time's up. We don't know when our time's up. Hey man, I'm gonna live forever. Do you know that? Like, how many friends have I lost already? How many people do we know that have passed away as children and as young children or young adults? Like, we don't know when our time's up. My dad died fairly young. He was in his early to mid 60s. That's young, y'all. That's kind of the age of the client I was just talking to. So we don't know when our time's up. Are we living intentionally? How can we be more intentional? How can we yes, be more intentional at living our lives? Thank you for sharing. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for reviewing. If you got a takeaway, I'd love to hear a takeaway. And thank you for letting me be on this journey with you. Emotionally healthy people help heal other people emotionally.